was, Gavin. Yeah, it's a long few weeks for everybody involved and for supporters, and I suppose more questions than answers came out of it. And Saturday night, while the performance was a bit better, it was still a 13-point defeat to Cork. Is not, something to be jumping up and down about. And it's. I'm glad that they drew a line. I suppose there was always a question mark over Kerry. If Kerry won the weekend, that could have been in a couple of weeks playing Kerry for the last spot in Munster, So thankfully that Kerry didn't progress for us, It was it was a long week. It was a long 6 days. I was thinking last Monday morning and, after the Limerick defeat, just waking up. Myself as a selector when I went back the last couple of years, waking up after defeats. It's lovely waking up after victories. You can't wait to get out of bed, Gav, to be honest, but on the back of defeats in the manner that Tipperary and Limerick, it's a tough station, and it's such a long week waiting to get your boots on again, or to go training and to try for management to bring people back and get them motivated for the next game. The performance was better. People, emptied themselves on the field Saturday night, so it was nice to see. And, if we took our chances, maybe we created some good goal chances in the first half. Cork took theirs. Unfortunately for us, ours didn't go in, and so it kind of, we paid the price in the end.
Yeah, kind of petered out. It's hard to probably put your finger on it, Owen, contesting the All-Ireland final in 2017, haven't won a game since, and I know a point alluded to last night by Ken McGrath, the Sunday game, that we've just won 4 out of our last 20 games in Munster in the last 9 years. Those stats don't make good reading, like.
No, they're not. The stats aren't good. I mean, minus 52 on the scores, at the end of the 4 games. Now, I have to say that the opposition, I suppose, after coming out against Clare was such a big game. Always the first game, especially being at home, on the back of pushing for the home venue, and we saw what happened last year when we had to travel the 4 games away. So that was always going to be a big game, and we nearly got something out of it in the end. Even a draw would have been something to build on. But having that loss, and I think overall the performance, didn't lend itself to a confidence boost for the team, for the group. Clare probably hurled better than us on the day and probably deserved the victory overall. But then Tipperary and Limerick, you'd have to say, are really in unbelievable form at the moment. And if you're not on your A game, and Waterford, we need to be on our A game to be competitive. I think that's obvious. The strength and depth of players, while we've elected some great new talent this year who've shown that they're ready to drive on. We need all our senior players, really on their A game to be competitive. And when they are, we're a match for anybody, Gav, to be honest. But Limerick, we saw what Limerick did to Clare yesterday. So, I mean, that softened our situation a little bit to see that this Limerick team, while Cork turned them over, they really weren't at full tilt. And after their 7 or 8 week break, I think they were probably struggling themselves for match fitness and that. So that softened it a little bit. And these teams will just put you away. And we saw, like, in the last 10 or 15 minutes of both games against Tipperary went to town in the second half after they got the goal. Limerick just powered on, and even Cork, they just powered home. I suppose these teams are still in the championship. It can be very, very hard just for the players, and when things start going wrong and the scoreboard starts going against you, it does take a lot to kind of hang in there. So in one sense, I feel a bit sorry, but look, it's obvious that something is not right. It's whether it's a hangover from Derek's time, whether it's the transition across to new management and new people. There's something just not right, and the rumour mill has just been gone into overdrive. People, if they don't even know anything, they'll probably come up with something themselves, and spread it. And it's unbelievable, the stories that have been going around, But from being involved, Gav, I mean, something is not right, but it'll have to be resolved in-house, I think, And I don't know what's going to happen. There's time to reflect now, and this year is over. Heading into 2020, we just have to look forward and have to try and see, what we can get together for next year. From everybody down, whoever feels they have a point. Everyone has their own opinion, but it's a difficult time for Waterford at the moment, and the only way is up, Gav. The only way is up.
Absolutely. You could hear the, I suppose, disappointment in Pádraig's voice, and particularly his interview even on the Sunday game last night, that, obviously players and management, I suppose, are feeling it most. Owen, yourself from being a selector, and I'm sure you have a great deal of sympathy, I suppose, for Pádraig in this position. Some of the abuse, I suppose, particularly maybe online, and when it gets personal, I suppose, during the week, is very hard to take from a manager's point of view, and indeed from a player's perspective.
Yeah, it's very easy to throw comments and like when they're hiding behind their phones, it makes it even worse. But people are always waiting, Gav, with cuts and snides and daggers, and I had that myself. Even when I was involved, people were, I heard stories back of people not happy that I was picked because I had very little experience, and I don't have much experience in coaching teams or managing teams, but I think that I'd bring something else to the table, because with Derek and Dan's experience around that part of the game, I wasn't going to enhance that, but I was hoping to bring something else to the table, But I heard stories back about my own involvement, so I can imagine now what they're saying about Pádraig, James and Para, and the knives are getting sharpened, and so I did feel for them last Monday morning. I did, and it's an awful situation to find yourself in. Pádraig has waited a long time, like many people in their county. He's gone to different counties. He's coached all the way up from club, third level, inter-county, underage, whatever. He's all the boxes ticked, very experienced. He's wanted to manage his own county for a long time. He gets his opportunity now, and the year has gone. Look, I don't think he'd want to leave it at that, because these opportunities don't come up very often, and it's a tough station when things are going against you. It's lovely getting the pats on the back, but when it goes against you, people are very, very people can be very, very crude and just love having a go, Unfortunately, that happens in this country and in all counties, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's certainly been a difficult few weeks for the management, particularly, and the players. And I suppose, look, the bottom line is, Owen, again, we're pointless after 4 games, minus 52. I think we have a worse scoring than what Carlow have, and they've finished bottom of Leinster. And there was a lot of talk about them being relegated, that they should be entitled to a playoff. So I suppose, those kind of things, when we're talking about that finishing bottom in Munster, it's not where we want to be, from a players' management, or indeed from a supporters' point of view.
No, the stats don't lie, Gav. The stats don't lie. And, I suppose, Waterford, we're small county number one. And we, as I said, we need all our players, especially up front, our attacking players, our forwards, we need all of them to be buzzing and to be really sharp and on top of their game. Just from a depth point of view, we saw what Limerick can bring in. We saw what Cork brought in the other night, and their subs went to town when they got going, up front. We probably still need to get a bit more depth into the panel, especially up front for me. Do we have Aaron Gillans knocking around? Do we have Horgans? We have some really, really good talented players there. But if things aren't right and they start going a bit off, things can really crumble for us, And I think that's what we've seen this year. For me, offensively, we probably need to unearth a few more, and we need different types of players. You can see physically we're probably struggling. I have to say, we didn't have the biggest forward unit last Saturday night, but they put their bodies on the line. Shane Bennett set the tone early on, meeting 2 Cork defenders. Okay, I think there was 2 frees in the end, but the kind of tone was set from a guy who's not huge by any means. He's not 6'4" and 80 kilos, 90 kilos or whatever. But he met him. He just threw his body on the line, and it was great to see. So I'm not saying that everyone has to be 6'2" and 3. We saw Galway when they won in 17. Conor Whelan was the smallest at 6'1" or something, and of their forward unit, it does help probably. But we think we need to develop just a few more players and have different options, on the bench. So, plan A and plan B. If plan A isn't going right, we have a plan B. And there's a bit of work on it and keeping it competitive.
Certainly is indeed. I suppose three players, I suppose, from what I saw in the whole championship, maybe three of the younger players who really stood up, Conor Prunty and Caleb Lyons again the other night, particularly, defended valiantly, and young Jack Prendergast up front, really impressive as well, Eoin. And I suppose that's the maybe biggest disappointment, that maybe a lot of our other maybe leaders or more experienced players didn't step up to the plate in this year's championship.
Yeah, I have Caleb Lyons was Prunty. Caleb Lyons the other night was exceptional. I thought, it's like he's been around there with 5 or 6 years experience. Like, it's hard to believe it's his first year. He's consistently performed in all the games. Didn't start first game, but since he came in, he's been just an unbelievable find at cornerback, at fullback, and at wing back, which is a great sign. Prunty the same, just 110%. You know what you're going to get. Very aggressive, very tough, and again, being thrown in there at fullback is just not easy, because you come across so many different types of players in there, just with the movement and that. But really, really impressed, and Jack Pender the same, took his chances. Very cool on the ball, and a great awareness around him. Just a great head on his shoulders for a young man. Just seems to do the right thing, and has that ton of speed as well, which is so important. But as you mentioned, the senior players, something, whether it's a hangover back from Derek and the transition across, and it's obvious that the youngsters didn't, weren't involved there so as much. Prunty was around, and but maybe it's a hangover from Derek still, or from that, and they're still trying to break away into a new system and new management and new strategy and tactics. Whether that's it, I'm hoping it is, Gav. I'm hoping it is. I'm sure some players are going to be thinking about their future. Some of the older lads are probably going to think about that. I just hope that there's no kind of rash decisions now this week or next week, and that get back to your clubs, get back hurling, get the boots on again. It's important to get the boots on again and just kind of play it through, because you're going to lose a lot more than you're going to win there. That's just the reality of the situation in most sports and with most teams, and especially in the hurling. It's just so hard to take. Not mind get out of Munster now. I mean, we can't talk about All Irelands anymore, because getting out of Munster now is our biggest task. Not getting into that 3 out of 5 group, So that's we need to kind of go back, I suppose, to basics again and start building again. And it may take, it may take a little while just to rebuild again, because these new players coming through, and hopefully we can unearth a few more. But it's been a very, very tough few weeks. A very tough few weeks. There was great, from what I had heard coming out of the camp, I think they went to Portugal. Things were going well, but it just goes to show, when the weeks come off this championship, will just eat you up and just spit you back out, and you won't get a second to take a breath with the counties who are all just trying to get into that top 3,
Yeah, it's a fair point indeed, but I suppose the table doesn't lie in its bottom for the second year in a row, which isn't pretty viewing. I suppose Ken McGrath was very passionate on the Sunday game last night. And obviously you've played with Ken as well, and you could probably see the disappointment in his face, maybe alluding to the fact that the problems maybe lie at maybe underage structures. Bottom of the table in the minor this year, again just 1 point, although we were competitive, to be fair to the lads, in all the games. But maybe the problems lie further down the line on.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness to the minors, they were competitive in all the games. They only lost by a score, maybe in all of them, I think. Been very, very little in it. But again, I suppose from a practical standpoint, I'm back to just trying to unearth players, from a small base. I mean, it can be hard, and if the structures aren't there. But I think there's been good structures there. We've had our success. It's been kind of, I know the minor and under-21s, that group, and we've had some of them come through. But like Limerick won a 3 in a row under-21. Clare, when I saw Clare playing, their under-21 team, it was a 12-13 round then. Like, I was, oh my God, these guys are going to they are going to be, around for such a long time now. They got to Ireland in 13, but it's kind of they haven't followed on either, and there's a lot of questions up there at the moment as well. So you can go back into schools, you can go back into the clubs, but and obviously having the structures is so important, and the coaching underage, and we need everybody. We need everybody that we can find to keep them on board, keep them around the place. But it's getting harder now, Gav, I would argue, coming out of 18s and 21s, because people aren't going to, they're not getting on the bus and going into Waterford City or going to Dungarvan for a day now. They're going to London and they're going to New York, and they're going away for weekends, and they're not going away for even weekends are more like summers now. They're going away for months at a time. They're trying to bed down a career. They're trying to get through college. They're socialising, to an extent. So there's just so many things going on. And I think that, I suppose, when I was coming through, it was just hurling. If you got a shot at the county team, it was the be all and end all. There was nothing else going to get in the way. And that seems to have probably diluted a little bit. Whether they're right or not, I don't know. But I think it's important, if you're going to stay, that you give it what you can, and that if you do get a jersey, that you empty the tank on the day, regardless of who's managing you, regardless of what systems are in place. There's still a ball there that you can go after. There's still a player you can go after, and you can still empty the tank from your own personal standpoint of a bit of pride for your family, for your club, for the place, just the place where you're from and the people that you know, and you can walk back and hold your head and say, look, I gave what I had. Whether it was good enough on the day, if you give what you have, I think people are going to walk away and say, well, look, we were being fair and square. They tried. And I know tactics and that does come into it, but to a point, and Derek had said this as well before, the first 10 or 15 minutes of a match, you kind of just go, you go anywhere, you go everywhere, you get yourself in, and then maybe tactics come into it when things settle down, and even the last 10 minutes, things can go awry as well, so it's not even 40 minutes of the match where tactics and that people can look into it, but there's a bit of a frenzy around the first 10 minutes of games where you just want to get involved and maybe get a hit and get a tackle and get yourself on the ball. But I think that's all we ask for, of players, especially when they're back with county jersey at whatever age, especially on the adult teams where everyone is looking to them, I suppose,
Absolutely, it's a fair point. I suppose another interesting point made last night was that for the very few, Waterford had very little support up there the other night, and I suppose supporters were frustrated after the opening couple of rounds that still beaten by 13 points, and people saying the performance was credible last night. But I suppose something on that Ken alluded to again last night was that that should be a given. I think he said anytime you put on that blue and white jersey, and I suppose that's just really passion from Ken, and I suppose you were there yourself, you wore that jersey as well, but was that a fair comment, or maybe was it a bit harsh? Or
it's it's probably a fair comment. From the supporters' standpoint, I suppose you can see that we were out of the championship, I suppose, and only the real diehards were going to travel up to Cork. It was still a decent enough sprinkling of blue Cork, obviously. They sold out the stands, and the place was fairly full. And I had a couple, one or two buddies who wanted to bring young fellas up there, and they failed to get tickets. They probably left it a bit late, but but I think it's hard. It's hard, and Ken, obviously the number one thing you want is attitude. And Brian Cody always speaks about it. That's all he asks for as well on a given day is work rate and application and attitude. And if that box is ticked, then other stuff just falls into play. You can have all the other things ticked along with tactics and formation and who's going where and who's tracking this for that. But if you're not kind of tuned in and your attitude isn't right, and if all the other stuff goes out the window, and I think there's probably there's a bit of attitude there. People weren't bought in. It seemed to me people weren't bought in to whatever the lads wanted to do, whatever the management. They obviously weren't going up there with no plan to all the games. That doesn't happen anymore. They obviously had things they wanted to implement, and whether players either weren't fully bought in or didn't know what they were to do, there seemed to be a breakdown. And it was the worrying thing was it was a domino effect, because the youngsters were the only ones who weren't affected, it seemed. So the domino effect when the senior players and the spine of your team is kind of struggling and just, you know, it just affected everyone very, very quickly, you know, and with Limerick's and tips and the forwards that they have, they just go to town, which they did on us.
Yeah, they certainly did in spades. And finally, then on to wrap up on it, I suppose it hasn't been an easy couple of weeks for supporters or for anybody really. And I know Pádraig was speaking after the other night that he said that he wants to be in a position to put things right in 2020. He is obviously in a 2-year term, which is what he was given. So do you think he is the man to lead Waterford forward going into 2020?
As I said, look, he's waited a long time to get the job, and the county board. I don't think that they want to go back and start the process again of looking for someone else. I think Pádraig should be given a chance another year to do his term and to give him a chance to redeem. I suppose Derek's first year in charge, you know, quite a lot of people remember the last 4 years, Derek was able to turn it around, because the first year, you know, people were having a go off Derek as well and what he was trying to do. So I think fair is fair. I don't think Pádraig, you know, wants to leave it at this 1 year that people will be remembered for. The county board have enough going on with the development of Welsh Park, and I don't think they want to start opening a process again of looking for another manager, because it can be hard, Gav, and the push strings probably aren't there. So if they want to go opening again, starting again, I mean, where do you go? Because if you go outside the county and you think of, I don't know, names, throwing out names, maybe like Anthony Big or someone who's not in the county manager at the moment, you know, Anthony might come down and say, yeah, I'll do the job, yeah, but I'm going to bring, I want this lad, I want this strength and conditioning, I want this guy doing stats, and I want a psychologist down twice a week, and I'll come if you give me that, you know. And I don't think we have the money we have for doing that. I just, we want to develop Welsh Park, we want to develop coaching in games, so I'm just not sure that it's feasible or that it's a right thing to kind of to get rid of Pádraig at this stage. I think he should be given another chance, and because I just don't think the county wants to start that process again. It's a difficult process to go through, to be honest with you. And but look, I don't know, because the players might have a viewpoint on it, and the board, but it's a difficult one. Yeah, I'll be honest, it's a difficult one, and I don't want to be who am I to say what's right or wrong? But if you go back to the drawing board again, you could come unstuck elsewhere. You don't know.
Yeah, it's a long process, and it's a fair comment. I'm sure there's going to be many more twists and turns over the next couple of weeks, but a disappointing and I suppose another painful Munster Championship for Waterford. Eoin Murphy, appreciate you taking the call and for your opinion and analysis as always, and look, please God, we'll catch up with you again there later on in the summer.
Yeah, thanks Gav.